All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome back to the Count Us In podcast. My name is Harry Sermon, joined as always by Jamie Joyner.
Good evening. How are we?
Good
You
evening.
okay?
Good to see you. And Mr. Matt Lacey, of course.
Hi, Harry. Hi, Jay. Good morning
Hey,
or
man.
evening or afternoon, wherever you are. Everyone, nice to be back.
Yeah, it's good to catch up. We're just going to get straight in. There's no
Yeah.
messing around this week, I'm afraid. No dilly-dallying. No questionable
A lot
purchases.
to cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna get real. We're gonna get deep. We're gonna get serious for a minute. You could say, if you're reading the topic title, the episode title, I should say, we're talking about dealing with uncertainty, in drumming, in life, in anything. We could be here for a while. So yeah, I think this is off the back of our last episode. Thank you for listening. We've obviously talked about original stuff and original gigs and original projects and all that sort of stuff. And this kind of came from that. With originals, there is a lot of uncertainty. With gigging, with being a musician, there is a lot of uncertainty. And I think we as drummers, we have to deal with that a lot. I think we are the people in the band that do bounce between different things, and we don't know where we're going to be in 2 months' time or 3 months' time. We might have one or two things, but we don't know. And I think, we've done episodes at the start of the year where we're like, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we've got some really cool, exciting things happening. And then you get to the end of the year and hopefully you're like, yeah, none of that, what I expected, good or bad,
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got kind of a couple of like points we want to kind of talk about. But let's start with the question first of all, guys. What does uncertainty sort of mean to you? When you sort of think of that sort of word, what does that kind of mean to you? Let's kind of rein it in a little bit. When we think about drumming and us as drummers and working musicians and stuff, what does that kind of mean to you guys? Uncertainty.
Yeah, I mean, for me, well, I mean, a great kind of example has been, I think I was due to have a pretty busy February with about 9 gigs in the book, I
It's
think.
impressive for February.
That's
Yeah,
mega.
That's good, isn't it, for Feb?
That's mega. That's good for any month, let alone
Well,
February.
Yeah. 9 gigs.
Admittedly, that not all. I mean, because some of it was with Montgomery Slack, so it's original stuff. So it's not. They're not all big corporate paying wedding gigs. These were like, we're out flogging our wares and we're not prepared. We're not going to get paid a great deal. So it wasn't like a great earning potential 9 gigs, but we were out busy and we were pushing the single and we were out. And then that through one thing and another, I ended up playing like, I think 3 of the 9,
Wow.
maybe 4.
Yeah.
Illness from one of the band members wiped out 3 gigs. And then another band kind of imploded. And we've talked a little bit offline about that. We won't get into the details, but I thought I would be gigging with a band the following day, and that gig got cancelled at like 10 hours notice. So the uncertainty thing was, it came, I keep trying to tell myself, until you're on the bandstand stage, wherever you're, until you're counting the band in, the gig's not happening. Nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah.
until
One
you're
way to
counting
look
the
at
band
it.
in. Yeah.
I mean, even then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You,
And then
you suddenly
even then-
spot the sound limiter in the corner. You're like,
Yeah.
And I'm off.
You might, yeah, and you might be counting the band in, but you haven't been paid yet. So
What happens when you do get paid beforehand, though? What are we going to do then? Count them in double time and get it over with. Let's go.
I think that for me has always brought it home, and being relatively, I'm 3.5 years being full time.
wow.
That's the big thing. I was going from a very, very certain wage
Yeah.
and a very certain 9 to 5 to,
You knew where you were going to be. You knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
You knew where you're going to be. The path was laid out.
yeah. And I actually, if you'd asked me kind of 5, 6, 7 years ago, I said, I'd have said, I quite like the fact that I'm going to the office tomorrow. I know what I'm doing. I'm in the office. I've got my routine. And, I have to remind myself that it's I get to choose how I start my day, how and what I do with it. And I've not had to learn, but have learned to be far happier with every day being different.
Yeah.
Than perhaps if you'd asked me 7, 8 years ago, I would have ever been.
Yeah.
So yeah, the uncertainty is, it's I'm fairly comfortable with it now, which it doesn't sound that particularly heroic, but for me, who was someone who was
huge.
very 9 to 5, it's
a tough cycle to break, isn't it?
Yeah, I think just what I have been conscious of is when I'm tracking what I'm earning, and that's potentially given me a nudge to say, right, I need to say yes to more stuff, or I need to be less picky about the gigs that I say yes to because the money's not great, but actually I've got one eye on paying the bills.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally the uncertainty is about reminding myself that you got to I mean, for anyone who's self-employed, you can't take your foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's happening next month. But that means I might get a call and get a great gig. Or it might be, I might get 8 or 9. I mean, I've had a message yesterday or about dep gigs in March, April, May, June, July.
Yeah. You never know.
You never know. So I think we always talk about uncertainty, as you alluded to, Harry, at the start. Like, it's positive as well as negative. It's not weak. I think we always frame it negatively.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a bit of a ramble. Sorry, but yeah, that uncertainty for me is something I've had to I've kind of really embraced, or feel I'm embracing fairly well. I'm certainly getting into. Jay, what about you, mate? I mean, you've been kind of you've come from London to Wales, restarted.
That's true. Yeah.
But how do you? I mean, how much of your work life, your all of the different things you do, I mean, how much of that is certain, uncertain, a given? You've got some steady stuff with Rock School, haven't you?
Kind of. I mean, it's certain as much as it will happen at some point. Or to be honest, it's mostly about trends and actually just data. Like the longer you're doing it, the more you learn, and the more you can anticipate a little bit. I'm not saying that makes it any easier whatsoever. Like I've been self-employed for almost 18 years or something like that now. So it's a long time.
Wow.
And trying to predict, I don't think you can ever do that with 100% certainty. Kind of like what you were saying earlier. All it takes is, and that can go either way. It could be like one email going, oh yeah, here's a wicked gig. And suddenly you're like, oh, great, or a string of gigs. And you're like, oh, I'm fine for the next month or so. That's great. Or it's, I don't know, a student that says, we can't afford lessons anymore, or we don't want to, he wants to learn guitar instead of drums or whatever. And suddenly it goes the other way, or drop out a gig, or a band dissolves, and for whatever reason. So you can't predict that stuff. And as you said earlier, I think it's like, it's both a really good thing and a bad thing. And I think that that's the bittersweet nature of certainly being self-employed, is that it's unpredictable, so you don't really know what's going to happen, but that's kind of what you're signing up for in a good way as well, because you want that variety and you want it to look different all the time. You don't necessarily want to be rocking up to the same thing 5 days a week doing and whatever. That's kind of the trade-off, I guess. So yeah, I think personally for me, uncertainty is always there. No matter how much you think you can predict it, it's never guaranteed. But yeah, I just try and collect as much data as I can. Track all the expenses, track how many students do you have, track how many gigs you had over the summer last year compared to the year before. How does your teaching income fluctuate when it comes to half terms and or little holidays, or like if you take too much time off, or or just like one-off requests, like if you're doing some extra cover work, or maybe you get a session or something like that, like how often is that happening, and is it something that you can cross the line of assuming it will happen.
Yeah.
Or is
Yeah.
that literally just a one-off? There's a few projects I've got where I'm like, okay, this has happened a few years in a row now. Like, I've gone, oh, January's been pretty good, like for the last 3 years, but it could quite easily not be, for whatever reason, and you can't predict that.
Or a month that you can usually bank on is now not very good.
Yeah.
And you you're in the moment of January's being great or February's being great, but then you get to, maybe July or August and it's not, and you're like, oh, I haven't really kind of thought about that, You're just kind of rolling,
Yeah, no, exactly.
I mean,
so
it's I don't get too much into the facts and figures, but you're talking about January and looking at data, and I think one thing I've realised is that, I'm always hoping or pushing towards upward trends in terms of how much I'm earning a year. I'm pay my tax, but what's my turnover? What's my profit? But like, when I track what I earned January this year, I was like, oh, it's okay. But if I go back 3 years, it was a lot less.
Yeah.
But last year, 2024, January was mega. And I thought, oh, great, I've established a new baseline. Come to next January, and
not quite.
Probably I've earned.
It's up and down, and it's just like general trends, isn't it? And it is really difficult because sometimes you think, all I need is one extra gig, and you think, or one extra student, or an extra school, or whatever the project is, and you think that will be enough. But it's so hard to tell if that's actually moving you on from your base rate that you were, say, last year, or if that's just part of the fluctuation in the work. It's so I often find that, like, I'll be like, oh, new student, I'll be like, oh, but I did lose a student like 2 months ago or something like that, and it's really difficult to lose track of that, and the balance of it, so you can be tricked almost into a false sense of progression or security when actually it's not.
Definitely. It's the consistent balance, isn't it? Of like you said, taking the negative, but also trying to make it a bit of a positive. But like, when for you guys, when was the last time that you felt that there was, a lot of uncertainty? Looking at the diary. When did you last kind of look ahead and be like, oh man, this is not good, or this is not, I've not been in this position with, like, I've got, no gigs, or, or whatever it is, like, because like last year, for example, like, it got to like December, well, it's getting like close to December, the summer had finished and so on. And there was a few gigs popping up in September and October and November, as it kind of does, you've still got a couple of little bits. And then I was like, oh, Christmas is pretty quiet. And then it got to October. Christmas is still really quiet. I've got one gig. November, oh, not so sure about this. First week of December, the only gig I have is this week, and I'm like, I've got nothing now until the foreseeable. I think I had a festival booked already in this July, and I was like, great. So currently I'm not gigging for 6 or 7 months. And I was like, I kind of got to the point where I was like, I actually don't know what to do, because obviously I want to have some gigs over Christmas. I don't really know where to kind of look without kind of, bugging the same people I play with, that I know that if I'm not being asked, it's because they probably don't have that many gigs, so I'm not needed. And then, it kind of did happen. There were a lot of last minute gigs. I think I ended up doing like 4 in like a week or whatever. So it was fine. But yeah, that uncertainty was really not fun. Like, it was really like, I was like, am I just gonna have to kind of suck it up and just kind of get through it? But yes, not a nice feeling. I was trying to take a bit of positive with it. Like, okay, well, I haven't got this, gigs and stuff. So, maybe it's be a good time to do some more recording and all that sort of stuff. And we'll get into, how we can kind of utilize that time later on. But yeah, for me, it was December of last year just gone, where it was like, I'm not feeling good about
gap
this.
in the diary just getting closer and closer and not filling up.
And also as well, like, you don't want to make it about money all the time, but you do want to be like, well, I know that if I do this gig and this gig, this can cover this, and you kind of like chunk it up a little bit. And I was just kind of like, oof, someone's not getting many Christmas presents this year. So, but yeah, what about you guys?
Yeah.
Jay?
I think for me, probably the weird one was last summer, just like June and July. Yeah, I mean, again, it's so hard to like predict the patterns, but yeah, just for with my work, it just so happened that it was like 3 of the 4 general income streams that I kind of juggle were just very quiet over June, July, and it just coincided with a couple of like family events and stuff like that were on Saturdays, and I was like, I'm going to take the weekend to not work, not gig, not teach. I had a lot of students that go away on holiday, as is their right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm going, oh man, I'm not getting the money, and I'm not on holiday either. This sucks. It just kind of. And then I think exams were just quite quiet. Year before I'd been sent away for 3 weeks for a summer tour, and last year I wasn't, and I wasn't necessarily expecting it, but it was just like, okay, so this is a different type of pattern to last year. So it was like, right, what am I going to do? I had some gigs in the diary, but not as many as I thought, and just all kind of coincided like that. And then when you kind of mix in high expenses for one reason or another, maybe it would be things like car or whatever, suddenly it's like, oh, this feels like a lot of pressure, and I suddenly can't wait for September to get back and the schools to kind of get back rolling again and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say the summer last year was a bit rough. But yeah, I think it's always just the thing for me that I don't like is when I assume that it's going to be all right and then it's not. And I think that's when I get stressed, is I can't anticipate it. And I'm only just being able to be at peace with that, or like do it to the best of my ability and then leave it. And just, I've done what I can. I think for 90% of my work, maybe more than that, I have no control over how much I do. Like it's purely at the mercy of whether anyone needs a drummer or anyone wants to
That's the thing.
have their exams marked or whatever. I can't just be like, oh, I've got a spare day here. Can I have some extra work? I can advertise on social medias or whatever to be like, oh yeah, I've got some free spaces, or I'm free this weekend for a gig or whatever. But at the end of the day, that's all you can do.
That's all you can do.
You can't do overtime or anything like that. It's just hope that something happens.
And that's what I felt about Christmas. I was like, there's always gigs at Christmas. Even like I remember like the year before, like 2024 Christmas wasn't great, but I'd still managed like a couple of gigs, and they were pretty last minute, but they came in, And I even this year I was just like, well, it's always fine. It was Christmas, I was sat there like on Boxing Day chatting with my dad, and I was like, yeah, I ended up having like 4 gigs in like a week or whatever. It was great, it's fine. But like right down to the last minute. And even now, I'm sure I'll go into this year being like, I'll be fine, and it'll be like the 18th of December, and I'll be like, like hopefully not. But it's just that you there's nothing you can do, And I even remember talking to some of the bands and them being like, or just like chatting with other mates and them being like, yeah, literally, I've got nothing. Like, we have no gigs. Like, sorry. And you're like, cool. It's not,
No,
what else can you do? And that's the business,
Yeah,
that is the business. But,
I think it's always been a bit more. I don't know, guys, and we've never really chatted about the mix, and we won't get into it now necessarily. But how busy I am or have been, pretty much. Not so much now. I'm probably leading the other way, but if the bands I'm in have got gigs, then I'm gigging. But I wasn't getting a lot of depth work. I wasn't getting the call for this cover or that cover. So if I knew I had gigs with my bands, then I could see 7 or 8 months into the future. We've got a festival in July, or we've got another gig at a return gig later on in the year in December or September. So, I mean, I know I've got gigs now every month through till September.
nice.
Through my gigs, and actually. I was asked about to dep gig last Friday and this coming Friday, which I can't do because I've already got gigs, which I never like turning down a new project or a new dep opportunity, because it's more people, it's another contact. I've got another dep gig in May, and potentially I'm doing some long-term deps, might end up being first call drummer for another band, which might be 5, 6, 7, 8 gigs. but yeah, I've never had that kind of, well, December or something will turn up. That's never been a thing for me, Harry, to be honest, because I'm not been getting the debt calls a lot, and I
Yeah.
don't tend to do weddings or functions, so I'm not a function band player. I can do it, but I only if I get a dep.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not kind of in that. I'm not doing like you guys talk about summer being busy because of wedding season. Well, that's not a thing for me because I don't do I'm not normally in a wedding band. So I think things are a lot more kind of. I think there's less peaks and troughs for me
Yeah.
generally. I do remember. I mean, what I would say is that if I've not got a New Year's Eve gig by 1st of November or even October, I've resigned myself to the fact, right, I'm having New Year's Eve off. Because actually, now I get myself, right, okay, I've not got a gig New Year's Eve. If I've got a call like the first week, can you do gig New Year's Eve? I'll be like, oh, okay, I can do. The money's great. But in my mindset, I'm like, no, I'm not gigging New Year's Eve. So I have to work out in myself pivoting to, oh no, I am available. I can say yes to that, should I want to, rather than being, well, no, I've not got a gig by October, so I won't be gigging on New Year's Eve. I think the first time, so you asked about the last time I felt really nervous about the uncertainty. I think really when I got into looking at this year and going, oh, January is not as strong as it was last year. Oh, February, now 6 of my gigs have been pulled. That's not as strong as it was last year. And I had slightly more school students in schools last year. So it's not, I was hoping I was going to be able to potentially keep building on my, turnover. It's plateaued now. Step back a bit. Okay. What else do I need to do? And what am I not doing that means that's fallen back? And the answer is I'm not doing anything differently or wrong or, it per se, it's just what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do remember perhaps being 8 months into going full time. So I went full time in the August, got through the Christmas period, and it got to kind of maybe the March of the following year, and things were okay, but I had gaps in my diary teaching wise. I didn't have many gigs coming in, and I was like, maybe this is not going to work.
Right.
Maybe I'm going to have to kind of
not seeing the space being filled up enough.
Yeah, and I'm also looking at what I'm earning and going, and I had a nest egg and I was supporting myself with my savings.
Yeah,
and it was like I'm not breaking even yet, so I'm not.
There will be a number at which you go, this is roughly where I need to be getting to in the near future, and if you're not, then
and then it was like, oh, I got a couple of, again, 1 or 2 gigs. I got a dep gig for a function band, and that was a great payer. And that 2-3 years ago, that one gig made a big difference to the month.
Yeah, definitely.
And well, it makes a big difference to the month now, But then after about a year, because people said, Matt, you've only been going 6-8 months. It takes time. And I'm like, but I feel like something's got to change because the savings are not going to last forever. And then I got to like a year or so, and it was like, oh, actually, I've had an okay month. But then I looked back a year and went, actually, a year ago, I'd have snapped your hand off at this month.
Yeah.
So it was like things were getting busier.
I think looking back is always a really good tool, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit in like what you tend to do when it does go quiet. And the types of things I'd say, like for me, looking back to 3-4 years and just imagining like your past self, looking at the day that you've just had or the week you've just had, and being like, oh, actually, I can see how much more I'm doing, or how much more enjoyable projects I'm involved in, or what Jamie 4 years ago would have killed to be doing. I'm doing that every month now or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
you know, and that kind of can just help put it in perspective a little bit, you know, because then you know that it can all change, like either it's very slowly and progressively over a course of years, or suddenly it's like boom, new band, new gig,
Yeah,
new
yeah.
student, whatever. Suddenly, it's all headed in the right direction again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's talk about that then. Of like, you know, when it does go quiet, you know, how do we kind of, you know, make, you know, really capitalize on that time? Because you know we can't just sit there with our hands crossed and wait around for it. You know, even though you know a week or two or whatever it is with you know very little work can feel, I'm sure, probably like a lifetime. There are still things that we can be doing to you know being like keeping busy. Like what we now like the first week of March, I've had I don't know 2 gigs I think this year so far.
Yeah, same.
Last couple of years of January again, like all of us, has been really busy. February's been pretty good. But I feel like I've like not stopped. Like loads of rehearsal stuff, loads of recording, loads of other like admin. Obviously, like I mentioned last week, like with the whole Digsby album stuff, like all the behind the scenes with all that. Just so many different bits that it's just constantly kept me in that practicing, like all that stuff, you know.
Running a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Like doing all this as well, you know. Like it's just been like feels like it's just still been so much going on. But for me personally, when it does go quiet, I kind of go, right, okay, well now I've got a bit of time here to, you know, go to the studio and record some drums and kind of make something of it. Or I'm gonna, you know, I'm still not very good at this, so I'm gonna try and work on this on the kit. Or I never got round to doing that. You know, just kind of like taking stock a little bit and being like, you know, watching some old clips or whatever it is, or just kind of reflecting on what I have done and trying to be like, okay, you know, what can I still do to push forward? Not going to wait to my next run of gigs and then I'll kind of get back to it afterwards, you know. Taking time off is good. That's important. I think, you know, you need some time off to just be like, I mean, like, Jay, you've had a mad couple of busy weeks, and when we're voice noting, you're just like, I'm doing nothing tomorrow. Full stop. Yeah. You know, like, and absolutely, like, you need that time, you know. Yeah. So yeah,
but he also said, I've got a weekend off. I'm flying to Amsterdam tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that was a fun.
That's a holiday still.
Know,
yeah,
that's
a holiday.
You know, one of very few that I ever have.
It's 40 minutes on the plane. That's a 40-minute nap.
Just to interject, Harry. But that point about it's okay to do. It's okay. Oh right, I'm not gigging this week. I'm going to practice for 10 hours. Now, dear listener, I would love to say that. Yeah, I'm in the shed. I'm shedding for 8 hours. And I'm not practicing. I'm not gigging.
More time to drum.
Yeah. It doesn't. Honestly, it doesn't happen for me. I mean, yes. I mean, I've been shedding the last couple of Fridays. I've had access to the studio that I teach in for an extra day, so I have been going in and getting my head into work mentality. I can go and shed now for 2-3 hours, and I'm writing down practice plans because it's written down. That's what I'm doing, and it's 20 minutes on this, 10 minutes on this, 30 minutes on this. But that being said, you know, I always say to my partner, I've got no gigs next week. I've got no gigs next weekend. I'm not gigging Friday. I'm teaching Saturday morning. I'm not rehearsing Sunday, and I'm not gigging Saturday night. So that time then kind of gets mentally ring fenced for we're going to do stuff.
Yeah,
and make time for it, because there will be times when I won't see a partner. You know, if I get home at 10 o'clock on a Thursday night and then have gig, teach, gig, rehearse, I don't see.
You're back to Monday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's as much as it's about saying yes to the gigs when they come in because you want to fill your diary. It's also saying yes to life.
Yeah.
When stuff's not in the diary, because I've realised that's because I'm a 24/7 work if I'm not careful.
I think a lot of people are, you know, in the sort of creative space and especially in like the freelance space. I feel like, you know, we it is. And I was doing a live session on the weekend and I was talking with the guy that was filming it. And again, he's a, you know, self-employed photographer. He's doing really, really well. He's doing amazing stuff. And we were talking about like that whole thing and we were talking about touring and all that sort of stuff. And I was just like, you know, he was like, you know, bands that I go on tour with to shoot and stuff like that, they're like, after they're like, well, what are we going to do now for like 4 months? We're not going on tour again. And he was like, not my problem. I'm going on another tour because I'm really busy and stuff. And he's like, it's great. And he's like, but I've not had a holiday or a weekend off since Christmas. But before that, it's been 3 years. Because I've just kept going.
Yeah.
He's like, obviously, like, I can wake up on a Monday and be like, what should I do today? Or what am I doing today? But equally, like, I haven't just given myself the time off to just, you know, because you like you were saying, Matt, you're afraid to say no to anything because, like, what if?
Yeah.
There's always that. Well, if I say no, they'll probably just never ask me, you know, which is not the case. You know, I don't think that's ever the case. Of, you know, you can turn someone down 2, 3, 4 times. I think I'll still ask, but there's always that, well, what if, you know, I've probably said no too many times, or they probably think I'm busy and so on. It's a real hard mental thing to kind of, you know, live with in a way. But I think as long as you're still trying to make the time productive, and if that is time off, that's still being productive. Because you're just going to be better the next time you go out for it, you know.
That's kind of how I view when I have a little bit of a quiet spell, because I am very guilty of wanting to say yes to everyone. I hate letting people down. That's a big one for me. And so when someone asks and I go yes or yes but or no, it kind of something, by saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And I think you have to get a good balance of that, and I'm not always good with it. I'll be like, well, it's an experience, or it's new musicians, or it's a new venue I've never played before, or the pay's really good and that extra money will be really helpful, or anything like that, and I'll say yes, and then I'll realize that I've not walked my dog for 4 days, and I've you know,
when your dog's ringing you to book you for a gig.
Please book some time with me to just walk around the block for a bit. So I have, like, I don't know, there'll be like a little red light that's just like, this has been too much, and I need to make sure that I try and dial this back a bit. And when there are quiet periods, I try and take those times to focus on, like, doing the stuff that I definitely put off when it is busy. And you kind of have to sometimes, but I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll go for a run, or I'll do like a bulk cook, or just like watch some TV for a few hours without feeling like I should be doing something.
Like feeling guilty about it, isn't it?
I would just be like, right, airplane mode, and then just like you know, leave my phone on the table and just get lost in a series or whatever. Like, and I don't get to do it very often, but when I do, it's like I go hard. Like, you know, this is like
the full recharge.
Half a day of me doing a thing, or a whole day of me just like focusing on nothing that's drumming related or band related or whatever. You know,
I don't want to go for too much of a tangent, but it is weird because sometimes I need the busyness to drive the productivity.
Yeah.
I find it quite difficult
on a roll.
To be like, oh, well, I can work on this, I can work on that, I can do this, I could. Very often I don't follow through on it because I haven't got the pressure of the thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you find that when you're like, I've got loads of time, I could do this, that, and this, and then you end up doing nothing, and you're just kind of like, I think I'd put myself out here, and I think I'd say there's a lot of drummers that they think because they've got a load of time, they can now, you know, go and do all these amazing things, and I'm going to be amazing, you know, and then actually, nothing really kind of comes of it, and I just kind of think like I like simplify it, you know, have that one thing that can really, you know.
It's there's that Venn diagram with the two circles that just overlap, with the 1% in the middle that is inspiration, stroke motivation, and opportunity.
Yeah.
And so much I'm so motivated, inspired to do a thing, but I haven't got the time to do it. And then when I have got the space and the time, I'm not in the headspace to go, I'm going to smash that thing that I was thinking about 3 weeks ago. It's
if it comes, you've got to ride the wave. The inspiration, and suddenly you're like, oh, I've got some time. Like, just like go for it, because it's like gold, isn't it?
I'm editing a video at 1 o'clock in the morning because I know what I'm going to do now.
But
I could have done it at 4 p.m. but
just wasn't there. The vision wasn't there.
wasn't
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So
I think
that is
creatives and like they
Yeah.
understand that. Like you can't force stuff. One day you'll be sitting there like, oh, I really should, like, I don't know, update my website or whatever it is, and you're like, nah, can't be bothered with that. And then at the most like inconvenient moment, it'll be like 1 a.m. You'll be there and you'll be just like, oh, let me just quickly go do this, and then you end up just like on a roll, and you got a new vision for a new project or a new whatever. And suddenly it's all hit at the exact moment you hadn't really planned it to.
Yeah.
So that question, we've perhaps made some notes about what we're going to talk about. How you make the most of being quiet. What we've established is we don't really make the most of it because we're busy, and then that fires the motivation for me. And then when I'm not busy, it's really difficult to self-start sometimes. And what's been really eye-opening for me is that I'm now far more aware of how I work, and what I mean by that is the patterns that go through my brain, my head, how I work in terms of when I'm busy, when I'm motivated, when I've got the bit between my teeth, when I can't be asked, all of those kind of segments of the day or week. And it, I kind of hark on about it, but having had a corporate life for 15 years and then another job before that, I was so conscious of how the 9 to 5, I was trying to do all of the stuff, what they expect you to do in a job. I was forcing myself into that box of 9 to 5 where I was trying to be the best I could be for work. But actually my head doesn't work like that. The best I am is like 11 o'clock at night. If I come back from teaching and I'm pretty tired come 8 o'clock, come 11 p.m, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to update my website. I did it literally this week. I've had a load of gigs come in, some cancel, and I've updated my website. Or I'm going to finish on Canva. I'm going to finish editing that reel. And my girlfriend said, are you coming to bed? It's gone 11, because, but I just need to. And I wonder how many other people out there kind of feel that that's where the uncertainty potentially works in our favor, because we have the freedom to attack something when it's front of mind.
I was literally like on the weekend making, I can't remember, I was making some shorts for the Digsby album, like 2 weekends ago. And then I was like, I just had like the idea pop in my head. I was like, I could also do this with this. It's like, right, I have to do that now. So like all of a sudden, like I was like halfway through like whatever I was doing. I was like, well, I'm going to just sit there and do this now. And then like another hour and a half went by. Yeah. But like you said, had the moment kind of not striked, probably would have been like, I mean, I had it today as well, where I was like, oh, I need to go and do this. Got home, this, that, and the other, went out for a walk, did this, made tea, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh, I've not done that thing. I'll write it down though on my phone and I'll get back to it tomorrow. I probably will do it tomorrow, but just having that, I think probably that, Matt, for you probably comes from teaching late, I imagine. Because I kind of feel like when I kind of teach after work, I kind of still come home and I'm like, right, I'm a bit inspired here. I kind of want to go home and play the kit, and that stuff. And it's the same after rehearsals. I come home after rehearsals, after a 4-hour rehearsal at midnight, buzzing. I could sit there and play the kit for more time, or I will just go to bed, but I could sit there and, edit this and put that together and write down, what if I do this? Oh, I've got loads of ideas and stuff. And I think that's just that creative brain just fires off when it kind of gets fed in a situation like that. It allows you to just kind of really kind of take off. I'd say. But on a positive note though, like what are some of the positive uncertainties that you've had, like things that you were just not expecting, or things that have kind of like worked in your favor, where like you at the start of the year this, that, and this was happening, and then come the end of the year, like, oh, I also did this and this, and I didn't have it on my bingo card this year. Like for me, the main thing last year was like the Malaysia gigs with the Bee Gees. Like literally, we were doing a festival in end of May, beginning of June, and they're just like, oh, by the way, we've been offered this stuff in Malaysia for 2 days at this arena. Do you want to do it? It's like, yeah. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what? I've just turned up to this, local festival. There's pretty not that, there's not really a good vibe going on. This about to tip down with rain. I've got to get all my stuff out of the car. It's like not exactly, the dream gig, as they say.
No.
Oh, yeah, do you want to come to Malaysia? In 2 months for it's that we leave like 2 days after the school holidays start. I'm like, yes, sign me up.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
that for me, it was just kind of like, again, I was like, August isn't looking great. I've got a couple of things, but could probably do with one or two more. And then all of a sudden that came in. I was like, I'm done. Like no gigs for me for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But little things like that, you can never tell. You can never tell. What about you guys?
Yeah.
Anything?
Do you want to go, Matt? Go on.
I could do with the thinking time, Jay, to be honest. But
Okay, cool. No, that's fine. I'd say like I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit more less specific for me. I think maybe because looking back on like previous years, they're all looking fairly similar, but I don't have any like control over that, as I said earlier. So it's just always really nice when it does work out the way that I kind of wanted it to.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee, I was like, I'd quite like to go for another exam tour in December. I've done that for 2 years and now I'd like to do that again this year. And it's kind of like, well, there's no guarantee. And I'm sort of waiting. And it's like, oh, no, I'm going again. And all of a sudden, like, I'm like, cool, that it's not guaranteed, but that now I can plan for it. But yeah, I'd say like last year especially, and the year before that, to be honest, I was just really surprised in a pleasant way about the variety of things that were just coming in.
Nice.
Just playing for a couple of artists, like just local ones here in Wales, or depping for people where they can do the gig. I depped for Digsby as well, which was
you did.
Malaysia.
That's why.
That was awesome. And then I've kind of done that for a couple of other friends, and another buddy he's going on tour a lot actually, his band, so I've been just teaching more his space, which has been really cool, like unexpected extra bit of work that has been really fun. And then just like band stuff taking off a little bit, or just projects where I actually really enjoy the music, and it's just become like a more all-round fulfilling kind of work-life balance, I guess, if there is such a thing. And I think that that's been a pleasant side to the uncertainty is more, you never really know what you're going to get, and when it arrives you're like, oh, this is fun,
this is good.
I'm enjoying that, and that's what I signed up for. Like, I want it to be different, and certainly with kind of the direction that I want to go, kind of more leaning into the kind of session depth sort of lifestyle, if you want to call it that's exactly what I want. I want it to be, 1 month I'm doing a few weeks on an exam tour, and then I'm like depping for some local artists, and then it's like wedding season and I'm doing the wedding stuff, and then I'm covering for a friend's teaching stint for a couple of weeks, and then I'm focusing on my own stuff. Like, it's nice to kind of have that on rotation, and it's not all the same. So while it's very stressful not knowing if at all it will come in, when it does, you kind of think, oh, that was worth it. Like,
this is what I've been waiting for.
Well,
this is why I do it.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's month to month. It's so hard to see it, and I think going back to what I was saying earlier, like looking back is when I really start to go, okay, I was stressed there, but 2 months later, I was fine again, and I couldn't have imagined that. But then you notice over the years, you're like, oh yeah, okay, there's little patterns and whatever, but there's trends of things are really uncertain, and then this is amazing, and it goes back to being uncertain a little bit. Like, you just kind of have to try and ride all of that as it comes, which is easier said than done, and I haven't got it down yet. But
I don't think anyone that is a self-employed musician as such, no matter the level, I can imagine, still hasn't got the perfect balance. I'm sure none of them wake up and they're like, this is great. This is still great. I've not worked for 6 weeks, but this is great. Like, it doesn't happen, I'm sure it doesn't.
You're right on that point about kind of looking back. I mean, so you guys talked about I just had to check actually my diary. So, I mean, January and February, we're now in the first week of March. I've got a gig this Friday. but January and February I had 6 gigs, and that's probably the most I had. Now it was going to be. I think I was due to do 15 gigs, but it's ended up being 6. So that was that's been great to recognise. Oh, hang on a minute, I actually have been busy. You talk about the positivity of uncertainty. I've had someone contact me who's asked me if I'm available to do a festival with them in May. Now, they put a post out last August. They needed a dep for a gig they were doing. Covers band, it's not an original thing, but it's all great fun stuff. Quite laid back. And I commented on the post and said, "Oh yeah, I'm available. Let me know if you're interested." Blah blah blah. And he came back to me. Well, no, I think he said in the message, PM me. So I messaged him on Facebook Messenger. The only reason that we still have Facebook, Jay. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And he said, "Oh, thanks for getting back to me. We're now all sorted. Thanks very much." I said, "Okay, not worries. Well, obviously keep me in mind if anything comes up in the future. All the best." That was August. And then out of the blue, he messaged me kind of the second, third week of January. And said, "Oh, hi, Matt. I wondered if you'd be available." And he gave me all the spec, he gave me the detail, he gave me the fee, all up front, for a festival in May. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm available." And I'm like, I'd never expected to hear from that guy again.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether I'm the third guy he's called or whether it's, he's kind of
Still got the call,
Get me a go because I put my hat in the ring last time.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing where it's like, oh, that's a nice thing because he's taken the time to get in contact with me after 5 months or whatever, 6 months.
Yeah.
I've also had a couple of gigs come in, or I was offered a couple of gigs, which were great pairs as well, but I was already out, unfortunately. Fortunately, but, I had to turn down a bit.
That always happens.
Yeah. And I didn't know the guy, but it was a kind of cold recommendation. He knew someone who recommended me to him, and he offered me not just 1 but 2 gigs off the bat, consecutive Fridays, and I couldn't do either. And again, that was that thing like that's the stuff where you go, someone's taken someone else's word of my playing, and someone's contacted me, and that's great because you never know. You just assume that everyone's not talking about you. Yeah. Because we are so driven by this, well, how many views did it get and how many likes did it get? And therefore that's the value of my worth. But people are having those conversations and your name is coming up. To have my name mentioned in conversation and someone get in contact with me, that's a real positive thing for me because it feels like it's not just someone asking me because they know me or because they know I'll do it for next to nothing, or it's a favour for a mate.
Yeah, you've been recommended. And you're like the guy for the job. Like they want you because of recommendation, or they've seen you play and they go, "Nah, this is the vibe that we're
And that's such a more, for me, that's far more positive thing than a band I'm in getting a gig. Because you're getting me by default because I'm in the band.
No one else can do it. So
no, that's right. Yeah. Whereas someone's gone out of the way to recommend me, and then that's allowed someone else to get in contact with me. That's the feeling where you're like, this is why I do it. Because there is value in what I do. Now, I talk quite a lot about this with Emily, my mentor, Emily Dolan Davis, about. You don't need anyone else to, you don't have to you can value yourself. You shouldn't be a sum of what people think of you. You're not valuable as a player because you're busy more or less than someone else. It's a dangerous head game to get into if you kind of define yourself by your calendar. That's difficult.
100%. Yeah.
But yeah, it is that kind of, they were some kind of positive things that I didn't know were ever going to happen. So they came out of the blue, so that's been...
I don't know if it's been the same for you guys, but there's been, it don't happen often, but there's always those really lovely situations that pop up when maybe you've worked with them a long time ago, or like in this scenario, like you dropped them a message and you couldn't do the gig but they asked you, or maybe you just reconnected with them once, you played one gig like 4 or 5 years ago with them, and they go silent and you just assume, oh, that was a one-time thing, and then like out of the blue randomly they'll be like, hey, we've got this thing, like do you want to do it? Or I've had things where I've just mentioned in passing that I live in Wales, and that has been enough for someone to be like, oh, Jamie lives near Wales, and I'll get a tag in a post, or they'll recommend me something or send me something that is near Wales, and I'm like, I just assumed that we just were on a gig, we said hey, had a great time, and then we went our separate ways, and we never have anything to do with each other again. But I've definitely gotten work out of just casual little interactions, and I think even I did an album session a couple of weeks ago. That was just from old work colleagues that I worked with back in like 2018, 2017 or something like that. Just other members of the music department. We did a little kind of recording together then. Haven't spoken to them since, like literally not once. And then it was like, what is it, like 8 years later, they get in touch and go, hey, remember we did that recording that one time? Do you want to come drum on this album? And track 10 songs. So it's like you don't know what impact you leave, or with whoever you're rubbing shoulders with.
I've had a couple recently where it's like, oh hi, like blah 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 recommended you, and I'm like, I don't even know who that is. And then like, and then like you kind of go back and you're like, I think I may have met you on a gig 5-10 years ago, maybe. And then like there was another one similar, and then I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do these gigs. I was already booked or whatever. And they're like, yeah, no worries. And then like a couple of days later, someone will text me like, oh hi, my name's blah blah blah. That person that I just mentioned recommended me. I need some gigs covering. So I'm like, I don't even know any of you guys. Like, where's this coming from? Like, it was cool, obviously, but it didn't really work out in the end. Like, but yeah, like you just never know, like where the chain kind of just goes off to. Who this person speaks to that person, and it can be so far removed. It's great,
and that's probably a great like takeaway in terms of. You have not directly, maybe directly, but every interaction, every gig, and you have the opportunity to make an impact on your uncertainty.
100%.
Because I mean, I've often said, like, if I've got to put a reel up, and I don't know, if I get 200 views and 10 likes, that's doing all well for me, But I was always in the and then someone would come up to me, I saw that thing you put up, it was great. I thought, you didn't like it, which is not a criticism, but you just assume that it's only the 10 people that saw it that thumbs up. You're never sure how far the ripples go from the stone. Without sounding like Buddha, but it's that kind of. So if you want to kind of help with your longer term certainty, being that person in the room that people will remember for the right reasons 5 years down the line, that's you're sowing the seeds.
That's another thing I came up against recently. I can't remember who it was. A friend of mine, they said, "Oh, you've always got to be a yes man when it comes to like all this stuff. Like you have to be professional." And I remember getting tagged in something. And I was like, oh, I want to do this gig. And they were like, yeah, cool. Can you do this recording? And then we'll get some shows going. And I replied immediately. And then they went silent for ages. And I was like, oh, no, like, is this happening or not? And then they just casual message like, oh, this is sorted now. Thanks anyway. And I was just like, I was fuming. I was like, this is such a cool gig. I really wanted to do this. You basically like gave it to me and then took it away. I was like in my head making plans and like moving things around and all this stuff. And I wanted to send back a message just being like, this is so unprofessional. Like why on earth would you like do this? And then I was like, someone stopped me, a friend of mine, like he stopped me messaging her. He's like, no, just say no worries.
All good.
Thanks very much. If you ever need someone, you know where I am, sort of thing.
Yeah.
All the best. And I was like, that's the last message I want to send. And he was like,
Yeah.
yeah, but you know, if their drummer, whoever they've just got, if for some reason stops, you're going to be front and center on their mind to take the gig over, you know, and it might not happen, but it was just another one of those things like, oh yeah, like just make that good impression, like be the yes man, like just take it all. Don't get all kind of not every gig is going to work out like that anyway, and the music industry is full of people like that, and I'm not saying they're bad people, but you know, it's
let's say it, Jay. Let's say it. They are bad people.
Yeah, I mean,
there are some people out there.
I think there is that really unhealthy urge to just as soon as you get a notification reply to it straight away, and I don't think that should be a thing.
Yeah.
And I do hate the offer me a gig. But I've also offered a message to 5 other people, so whichever person I read first, I'll just get that. And it's just like, no, like I again had it recently, got offered a gig, like, do you fancy doing this? Happened to be on my phone, check the calendar, yeah, sounds good. Then like 5 minutes later, I got it sorted now, sorry, I'll give you the next one. It's like, well, you know, don't ask, like, you clearly obviously asked, like, those sorts of things. And I think, but exactly what you were saying, Jay, like you do need to you always need to be like, okay, cool. Like, or like, I mean, there's obviously levels to it. Like if, you know, if you're being pulled last minute and you've arranged that there's, you know, that, but if it happens that, yeah, like you said, you've replied and then you get back it's all good, don't worry.
Yeah.
I think you've always got to be like, no worries, just give me a shout if you need me. You know, even if it's through gritted teeth, you know.
That thing of like, I've emailed 5 people and see who comes back first, because they're not contacting you because it's you.
No,
they just
I just want to get the gig sorted.
They want someone to sit in the chair. They're not interested in the quality or the personality. They just want the chair filled.
It's all the same to them. It kind of feels a little bit offensive, doesn't it? Like, I'm one of 5 people you've just messaged. Whoever happens to be quickest is the one that gets it.
You're just probably going to pick and choose anyway. Who you want.
I'd rather find out that they contacted me because I was third choice.
Yeah,
and I took the gig. And what I'm going to do is do everything I can to ensure I'm first choice next time.
Yeah, make it a good gig.
I'd rather that. I'd rather be given third option, and well, okay, I'll take the gig, and so be it. Rather than it be an auction.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Which is kind of But that's the uncertainty. I had a great quote from Matty Roberts, who runs Percussion Discussion podcast and North Wales Drum Promotions in Wales. Matty, I know Matty a little bit. He was always mentioned on his podcast about if you're not sure what's coming up, he says, jump and the net will appear. And I thought it's just a great saying. So if you want to do something, you do it. And one way or another, it'll work out that you want to do the thing. You know,
you'll find your way.
He's putting on those drum clinics and stuff and masterclasses in North Wales. And some kind of, you know, there's a financial risk to all of that. And it's going really well. And it's, so I always kind of keep that in the back of my mind in terms of, let's see what happens in March. Let's see what April brings. And it will work out. Some stuff won't happen, and other stuff you weren't expecting will happen. And it will, as long as you've got the opportunity to be professional and say yes to stuff or say no to stuff for whatever reason, knowing that something else will turn up around the corner. But you have an input on that destiny a little bit, probably more than you think. But it's there's a lot to be said for it. You know, I couldn't imagine doing anything else now, to be honest.
Good,
for sure.
Yeah. We'll see what the next year brings.
Yeah. Well, I think we should leave it there because otherwise we'll just keep going down the well, forever. But yeah, thanks everyone. Obviously get in touch with us on our Instagram at Counselling Podcast. We'd love to hear kind of, you know, when you felt uncertain, and you know, maybe is there something where you're screaming listening to this being like, I can't believe they don't do, you know, this when things are not looking good. Maybe there's some kind of secret app that's got a load of gigs on that we're just missing out on. I don't know.
The answer is quit being a drummer.
A
stable job.
That's the one. But yeah, thanks guys. Obviously there's also in the show notes a things like the Buy Us a Coffee link. So yeah, if you feel that way inclined, please feel free to do so. And yeah, I don't think there's much else to report.
I think
No,
But yeah,
and I'm certain of that.
yeah, that is what I'm certain. Yeah, I am certain. This is the end.
Yeah,
And
this
that is that.
episode, this comes out on the 13th.
13th. It is the 13th right now. If you're listening.
Yes, it is. It has come out on the 13th, but it will be out on the 20th on YouTube. That's why I was going for that.
Corresponding weeks.
Corresponding weeks. Yeah.
But yeah,
Great.
well, thanks, guys, and we'll
you.
see you in the following episode. See you next time.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Take
See you
care.
soon.
Bye.